This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
This is my ultimate guide to learning Spanish. Today, I'll be sharing all the resources that helped me achieve an amazing conversational level in just 8 months. The first kind of resource I want you to consider is choosing an accent. Because once you choose the accent, you will be choosing the right resources. So ask yourself this question: why are you learning Spanish? For me, my goal was to communicate with people in Mexico. So that's why the accent is Mexican Spanish. Maybe your dream is to move to Spain, so start watching videos by YouTubers from Spain, for example. If you're relocating to Argentina because of a work opportunity, the same thing applies here. Start with the Argentinian accent, and then once you become more and more advanced, you can start listening to a lot of different accents, because once you're already at this advanced kind of level, it's easier for you to understand this information. Recently, I've been working on creating a lot of different Notion templates for you guys, and I'm happy to announce that my language learning Notion template is live. It has a lot of cool features. It is a lot better than the one I shared a few months ago. It is updated. It has a lot of cool formulas, cool features like progress bar, for example, so you can see how long you've been learning the language for, and you can also see how much of this language you have already learned. If you're using Notion and you want to check out my template, make sure to click the link down in the description. The next thing you should think about before finding the resources is: what are your interests? For me, for example, once I started thinking about my interests, the answer was I love nutrition, I love yoga, I love content creation, and I love traveling. So I started looking for YouTube channels, for example, where people talk about these topics in Spanish. This way, I was already naturally inclined to love those topics. And once I started watching those videos in Spanish, I wasn't feeling like, oh my God, I have to learn Spanish, I'm learning Spanish right now. No, I felt like I was doing something fun. I was learning something new. I was relaxing because I would watch this type of content in my everyday life anyway. I love planning trips, for example. So I go to TikTok, and instead of typing, how to plan a trip to this country in English, I type it in Spanish now. And this way I listen to all the creators on TikTok who talk about traveling in Spanish. If you love traveling too and you're thinking of sharing your journey online, you can create your own website on Squarespace. You can start a completely personalized website with the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint. Just choose from professionally created layout and styling options to build your own online presence. The website will be tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. It's very easy to launch your own website and get discovered with integrated optimized SEO tools, so you can show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. Squarespace also has the tools you need to create and sell your own online courses. When I had my own speaking club, I had the full course on Squarespace. You can start with a layout that fits your brand, then upload videos and customize everything with next generation editing technology. Then you create engaging lessons for your audience, add a paywall, and set the price. You can charge a one-time fee or sell subscriptions. Squarespace courses will help you take what you know and turn it into income. And lastly, you can use their video collections. You can upload video content, organize your video library, and showcase your content on beautiful video pages. You can even sell access to your video library by adding a paywall to your content. If you want to create your own website too, head to squarespace.com/Veronika to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by using my code Veronika. Now let's talk about YouTube channels, because I personally believe that YouTube is an amazing resource. You can learn so many different languages on YouTube just by watching videos, and it's absolutely free. What I recommend doing though is creating a separate account for each language you're learning, because this way your recommendations will be only in this language. Because if you subscribe to a lot of different people from just one account, once you open YouTube, it's just gonna be like a mess, a lot of different channels, a lot of different videos. And let's say right now your goal is to learn Spanish, right? You're focused, you're motivated, and then you open YouTube and you see a video by Mr. Beast and you're like, let me just watch that. So that's exactly what I don't want to happen. I want you guys to be focused when you're learning a language. And this little trick of creating a separate YouTube account helped me so much. Now I have an account to watch videos in Spanish, to watch videos in English, to watch videos in Chinese and Russian. It helps me so much. So now I want to open my YouTube account and show you guys all the channels I'm subscribed to, all the channels that are helping me improve my Spanish. If you guys love vlogs, I highly recommend checking out Shannon Lehman. Her videos are amazing, very interesting. She travels a lot. They're all in Spanish, obviously. She's Mexican and she's married to a Korean guy, and his Spanish is so freaking good. So I feel like his Spanish is motivating me to learn Spanish as well. Luisito Comunica is a very famous channel in Spanish. If you love traveling, his videos go viral pretty often. So maybe you're already familiar with his YouTube channel, but I really like his content. If you want to watch more videos that are actually teaching you Spanish, I highly recommend Hola Spanish, an amazing YouTube channel. Easy Spanish, because they often do interviews, they talk to people. It's not just the Mexican Spanish, and they also have videos for beginners. I can also recommend Real Fast Spanish and Spanish Land School. These two YouTube channels are amazing. They teach you something in Spanish. They sometimes use English, so you feel like you're a student in the classroom. I really like this YouTube channel, Isadora Vera, because she makes videos about productivity, about studying, about working, about personal improvement and learning foreign languages that are all in Spanish. Very interesting. I highly recommend. Now let's move on to speaking practice. For me, every single time I'm learning a foreign language, it's very important to think about how I will organize my speaking practice. Do I need to speak this language a lot? What's my goal, right? It all comes from your goals. Once you know why you're learning this language, everything becomes so much easier. You can organize your speaking practice with a teacher and use such resources as italki, LifeXP, Lingoda, all amazing platforms. Or you can go to a speaking club, for example, online or offline. Oftentimes those things are completely free. When it comes to speaking, I feel like there are two different opinions. Some people believe that you should start speaking as fast as possible, like once you start learning a new language, start speaking. And other people believe that, you don't have to worry about it. Just wait, focus on comprehensible input, surrounding yourself with a language, and then you will start speaking. For me personally, it all depends on your goals, because when I moved to Mexico, my goal was to start speaking with people as soon as possible, because I started living in Mexico. So that's why for me it was extremely important to practice speaking in Spanish. And even when I just started learning the language and when I could only say hola, ¿cómo estás? I was always practicing hola, ¿cómo estás? Mi nombre es Veronika, things like that. So I was practicing as many things as I could right from the very beginning. However, of course, I was spending a lot of time surrounding myself with a language as well. I was watching a lot of videos on YouTube. I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and we're gonna talk about my favorite podcast a little bit later. I was making sure that input in Spanish was a part of my life. Now let's talk about grammar. When it comes to grammar, a lot of people start freaking out because maybe it's too hard, maybe it's too boring. My principle is I just choose one grammar resource. With Spanish, it's this book. It's called Advanced Spanish Step by Step. I love this book. It really has a lot of grammar rules. Like, it's a pretty thick book. It has exercises, it has grammar rules, it has everything. And honestly, it's all I ever wanted. Like, I don't need more resources. If I have a question when it comes to a specific grammar rule, let's say I'm like, oh, why is this way? Like, I don't understand. You know what I do? I use AI. I use Perplexity, I use ChatGPT, and usually all my questions are answered. If after that step I still have questions, I ask my teacher, I ask my Mexican friends, and oftentimes they help me and then everything is clear, I understand everything, and I move on. If you want to get this book, I will leave the link in the description. Now let's talk about apps. So what apps have I been using to learn Spanish? The first app, I talk about it all the time, Anki. I love the space repetition technology, helps me learn everything extremely fast. It actually helps me use all the words that I learn when I speak to someone. That's why I love Anki. It just helps me so much. It's a great app. It's completely free if you want to use it on your computer. If you want to use the app too, I believe it is not 100% free. I'm not sure, but I know that using it on your computer is free. When it comes to dictionaries, I love the Spanish dictionary. It's an amazing website. They have a lot of words. I love that I can listen to how each word is pronounced. When I'm not sure how to say a specific phrase, I either use Google Translate or DeepL. DeepL is kind of like Google Translate, but in certain cases, it can be a lot better because Google Translate usually gives you one translation, right? You type in something like, I don't know, I want to buy bananas tomorrow. I don't know, maybe DeepL is gonna give me one translation for this too. But let's say you, or can you please buy me some apples today, right? So if you type in the sentence to Google Translate, they're just gonna give you one version. But in Spanish, we have tú, we have usted. So is it tú, is it usted? You know, like all these questions. And DeepL gives you a lot of different versions of this phrase. So you can choose the sentence you like the most and you know you need for a specific situation. Once you've learned all the most common words, the next step, at least for me, I was just trying to learn as many words that I thought I needed as possible. For example, I know that I work as a YouTuber. I make YouTube videos, so for me it was important to know how to talk about my job. I basically call it building your own vocabulary, right? Because if you're a doctor, somebody asks you, oh, what do you do for a living? And you're like, oh, I'm a doctor, I work at this hospital, I do this, I help my patients. So you gotta make sure you know how to say all of these words. For me, at the very beginning, it was not necessary because I'm not a doctor, I'm a YouTuber. So for me, it was important to learn how to say all of those things. Like, how do I say I make YouTube videos in Spanish and stuff like that. Then obviously you move on to something more complex. Let's say I'm interested in nutrition. So I wanted to make sure I know how to say a lot of different words in Spanish that are connected to nutrition. I was consuming a lot of content on YouTube. I was watching documentaries, movies that are somehow connected to this topic, and this way my vocabulary was growing very fast because I knew that I needed those words because this topic is kind of like always in my life, and almost every time I talk to someone in Spanish, this conversation kind of comes up because I'm vegan. So I have to make sure I know how to explain to people why I'm vegan, how long I have been vegan for. And growing my vocabulary in this way has helped me a lot. And finally, an amazing resource that I love using to learn Spanish is podcasts. I'm going to open Spotify right now and just tell you guys what podcasts I use and love to learn Spanish. I really love Spanish Obsessed because they actually have 3 different podcasts, like 3 different levels. They have Spanish Obsessed for intermediate students, for advanced students, and for beginners. I follow all of their podcasts because I love their content in general, and I highly recommend it because I know oftentimes it is hard to find a podcast that is beginner friendly, and beginner Spanish with Spanish Obsessed is amazing. Now that I'm becoming more advanced in Spanish, I have started listening to podcasts that are for Spanish speakers, La Ciencia Versus. I love Podcast Diario para Aprender Español, a great one. They post a lot of episodes, very interesting, and I learned a lot of new words from there. I love Suave Spanish. I actually interviewed Nate a few months ago, so if you haven't watched this video, make sure to check it out. Our conversation was amazing. Suave Spanish is an amazing podcast. Their conversations are informal, a lot of fun. I also really like Mexican Fluency podcast because I live in Mexico, and for me it was important to start learning, maybe like Mexican slang to understand Mexican culture a little bit more. That's why I highly recommend checking out this podcast if you're interested in Mexican Spanish too. And finally, I really like Charlas Hispanas. It's a great show. They talk about a lot of different topics, and they also post a lot of news in Spanish. And the episodes are relatively short. I would say like 10 to 20 minutes. So these are all the resources that have helped me improve my Spanish. I'm using a lot of these resources and approaches right now because honestly, that's my guide. That's the way I'm learning Spanish, and it works. I got to a very confident conversational level in 8 months, and now I think I've been learning the language for a little over a year, I would say, and in a lot of situations, people compliment me on my Spanish. Of course, there's still a lot of grammatical structures that I haven't mastered yet, but it's not stopping me from communicating with people successfully. So I think it's gonna be it for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share in the comments your favorite Spanish learning resource. Maybe it's something that I have mentioned, or maybe it's something completely different. If you want to build your own website, don't forget to check out Squarespace by clicking the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to check out the video where I was speaking Spanish for 24 hours, and I posted that video probably 5 months ago, you can check it out right here. It was very, very fun. Hopefully this video will make you less afraid to speak Spanish and more motivated to learn the language.